Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Harer Nama eva kevalam kalo nascheva gatiranyata. In this age of Kali, there is no other way for spiritual realization but to chant the name of Hari, chant the name of Hari, chant the name of Hari. This well-known verse, or from Brihadaranyaka Purana, well, actually it's become well-known because it's been preached by Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers. But actually all sampradayas, they know this, that chanting the names of Hari is the way for Kali Yuga. That means all bona fide sampradayas. There are some very bogus sampradayas also. Yeah, even the Mayavadis, they'll accept this. I mean the original Mayavadis. So the mission of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness is to preach the chanting, to induce people to chant the holy names of Krishna. And practically we see that people become happy by chanting the holy names of Krishna. We see here in India that when we go out for chanting the holy names of the Lord in public, this is the process that personally Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took up, then everyone becomes happy. Not only Hindus, even others, people of other religions, they also become happy. Unless people are very fanatical or very atheistic or very demoniac, everyone becomes happy by this chanting of Hare Krishna. And that is natural because everyone is eternally related with Krishna in a very happy relationship. Actually, here in Tamil Nadu, often people think it's a little strange, this exuberant public chanting of the holy names, because they're used to a more staid kind of religious practice. Staid means like formal and unemotional. But as they become exposed more and more to it, all people will be happy to join in this chanting and dancing. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's guru told him, Nachau gao bhakta sange karo sankitan, nama upadeshi tara sarvajan. He told him that dance and sing and perform nama sankirtan, and by instructing others in the process of chanting the holy names, deliver all the people. So this process should be preached everywhere, all over the world, even without understanding any philosophy. One thing that everybody can appreciate when they see the devotees engaged in Harinam Sankirtan is that they're very happy by doing so. I know myself, when I first came in contact with devotees of Krishna, this was in my youth in England, it struck me how happy the devotees were. There were many things which I noticed immediately unusual to me when I first entered the temple of Krishna in England. The whole temple building was full of a smell of sweet incense, which was unusual and very attractive. And well, there were so many. There were beautiful pictures of Krishna on the walls, which are very attractive. But what struck me more than anything else was how happy the devotees were. Because generally people are not happy. I was not happy. And these devotees, they had nothing that might, that the society in general would make you think would make you happy. They didn't have, like all facilities for sense gratification. They were living very austere lives, but they were very happy. And this was obviously a kind of happiness that didn't come from the bodily or mental or intellectual platforms. This was pure spiritual happiness. And next morning when I stayed overnight at the temple, and next morning I saw at 4:30 in the morning in the cold winter, devotees singing very beautiful songs to Krishna and dancing in happiness, and I knew that this is genuine. So everyone will appreciate that this is happiness that everyone wants, happiness from the spiritual platform. So this preaching of the Hare Krishna movement should go on everywhere. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's guru told him, Nama Upadeshi, by teaching about the holy names, deliver everyone. So public chanting of the holy names and at festivals and in our temples, this should go on. And also instructing people in the science of Krishna, of why we should chant his holy names. So for that purpose we hold meetings such as this one here right now, and we distribute literature on the subject of pure devotional service. There are many, many, many bogus persons who purport to represent spirituality. There is no use of even discussing or thinking about such useless and bogus persons. They all have so many concocted ideas, but they don't like to surrender to Krishna. So we should discuss about Krishna and Krishna consciousness. Instruct people that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we all have to surrender to him. So this preaching should go on everywhere. It may not be that people take it very seriously in the beginning, but if we are patient, then gradually things will develop. I have been coming to Vellore, I think I first came, how long ago? About 18 years ago, something like that maybe? 18 years, you know. And at that time we had meetings in that Vishnu Perumal coil. And was it Jalakantesh? No, it was a Vishnu. Varadaraj Perumal coil. And Jai Govinda Ram Prabhu was coming at that time also already. Very few people, and slowly, gradually developed, and now it's developing more and more. So I've seen, by being involved in this Krishna consciousness movement for many years, how actually in the beginning there was a lot of struggle to preach Krishna consciousness. Even here in India, not many people were interested. It was quite common when I used to go out in the streets of Delhi, that was 1977, for distributing books. It was quite common that the young school children would pull my shika in mockery. But I remember Janmashtami 1977 at ISKCON Delhi, maybe a few hundred people came. But now lakhs are coming. So at ISKCON Janmashtami celebration in Delhi. So people are a long way away from Krishna, but if we're patient and keep on exposing people to Krishna and Krishna consciousness, then gradually their dormant feelings towards him will revive. We need everyone to move forward a little bit. Now those who have taken to Krishna consciousness, they can appreciate the value of Krishna consciousness and how this should be spread widely. It's natural that those who have taken to Krishna consciousness want to spread it. This is not exactly like the preaching of various religionists who want to convert others, and in some fanatical or dogmatic style they try to make converts and make people feel very afraid that unless you follow what we say, you go to hell. But our preaching is not exactly like that. But it is motivated by a desire to help people to utilize their valuable human form of life. To give them the information that if they do not properly utilize their human form of life, then that is the greatest loss of all. If a businessman loses a lakh of rupees, or if he's a bigger businessman and loses 1 crore of rupees, he thinks that's a very great loss. Or if a student fails to pass his exam, he thinks that's a very great disaster. But what if you spoil your whole life? Labdva sudurlabhamidang bahusambhavante manusham artadam anityam apihadhiram. Turnam yateta napatedanu mrityayava nishrayasaya vishayakalu sarvatasyat. We have achieved this human form of life after many births. Human life is very rare. It's also very short. We can die at any time. But it's also very valuable, because only in the human form of life can we consider what is the actual meaning of life and act in such a way that we do not have to get born again. Therefore, an intelligent person does that. An intelligent person doesn't waste their life, but they use it for understanding how to get free from birth and death. And in this age of Kali, it's actually very easy, simply by chanting the holy names of Krishna. So we wish to give this information to everyone. But to preach Krishna consciousness, some qualification is required. When we say qualification, it's not exactly like the qualification that you get in a university. In the university, you just have to learn something and repeat it in the examination. But in Krishna consciousness, simply learning, although that's good if you learn about Krishna, but that in itself is not the essence. There should be good character also. Therefore, no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. Because if one indulges in these sinful activities, one cannot get any spiritual strength. The result of chanting the holy names is that there should be purification of character. So it's very difficult in the modern age to convince people about this. People think that without meat eating, then we'll be weak and then we can't enjoy life. Of course, we see the elephant is also vegetarian. So it's not true that you have to be a meat eater to have physical strength. But more important than physical strength, anyway, is spiritual strength. And that comes from good character and from spiritual practices. Spiritual strength comes from chanting the holy names in purity. And those who have spiritual strength can spread the chanting of the holy names of Krishna. They can inspire others in pure devotion to Krishna. Now, it's relatively easy to inspire people in some cheating process. Kali Yuga is the age of hypocrisy. So if we teach something bogus, we're more likely to get many followers and be popular than if we teach the actual process of Krishna consciousness. But Srila Prabhupada, he taught us to never compromise, not to preach that Krishna consciousness will solve all your material problems, for instance. If we say like that, then many people may like to come. But if we are to speak the truth, then we should say that the only way to solve your material problems is to get out of this material world, because the material world is the world of problems. The solution to material problems is to stop trying to think that we can be happy in this material world. To understand that happiness only lies in satisfying Krishna. So, although we can encourage people to chant the holy names of Krishna and at the same time encourage them in their materialistic propensities, that will not serve the purpose of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu of bringing people to pure devotional service. So actually the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, they are quite extreme, you might say. Extreme. Krishna says, Mamekam Sharanam Braja, take shelter in me only. So it's a great demand of Krishna. Especially in India, people think that, well, there are so many gods, why should we take shelter of Krishna only? Krishna's okay, but why only Krishna? But that's what Krishna says. Because all the demigods, they're only his part and parcels. And what to speak of all these bogus incarnations, they're just worms in stool. People who claim themselves to be avatars, next birth they'll be a worm in stool. Many births. Of course, if we say this, people won't be very happy. Because they're cheated. Kali Yuga is the age of hypocrisy and cheating. People go to some temple and they see there's pujas and Vedic mantras and they think this is very nice. But if the object of worship is someone who is supposed who people say is Bhagavan, but he's not Bhagavan, then it's all simply cheating. So people like to be cheated. We have to try to save them from their own foolishness and teach them to take shelter of Krishna only. The happiness of Krishna consciousness, that is possible to experience when we are Krishna conscious. If we want to mix with material desires, it won't work. Bhukti mukti vanchas sprihayavat pishachi hridi vartate. This Rupa Goswami, he proposes the what's that called? The rhetorical question, that as long as the witch-like desires for material enjoyment and liberation are within the heart, tavat bhakti sukhasyatram katam abhyudayo bhavet, then how can the happiness of pure devotion be experienced? In other words, it's not possible. So, chanting Hare Krishna brings happiness. There's no doubt about it. But that happiness is experienced on the platform of surrender to Krishna. And the more we surrender to Krishna, the more Krishna reciprocates with us, and the more we experience the happiness of pure devotional service. So, we take shelter of Krishna in this Kali Yuga principally by taking shelter of His holy names. Kali Kale Nama Rupe Krishna Avatar Nam Hoite Hoi Sarva Jagate Nista. Krishna's avatar in Kali Yuga is in the form of His holy name. And by chanting the holy names of Krishna, all the universe can be delivered. There is no material qualification for chanting the holy name. Anyone who chants, whether they're young, like this, or even you can teach the baby to chant Hare Krishna. Oh. No, it's all right. I'm just saying you can teach to chant Hare Krishna. I'm using as an example. They can be young, very young. They can be very old, almost dying. They can chant Hare Krishna. They can be a great Vedic scholar, or they can know nothing at all about all this. But anyone who chants the holy name of Krishna is benefited. So please chant to your baby. See, now she's become quiet. So you can wait here. It's all right. It's all right. You can wait. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was teaching the holy name of Krishna even as a baby. All the neighborhood women would come to see this beautiful young baby. He was very beautiful and attractive because his bodily features were exactly like that of Bal Gopal, Krishna, except that he was golden instead of blackish. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a practice that he would cry loudly, as in his baby form. And only when the ladies would call out the names, Hari, Hari, Krishna, Krishna, then he would stop. So they found out this game, and in this way he would engage them in chanting the holy names of Krishna. So by chanting the names of Krishna, we get spiritual strength. There are two main ways of chanting: in kirtan, with sankirtan, with other devotees, and nama japam, in which we chant on our beads. And we see that devotees who do this regularly, they get spiritual strength. Just like we're been conducting here for how long now? 3-4 years here at this. 4 years here, the regular program, early morning, 5 o'clock, Mangal Arati. And we see that those devotees who regularly attend, they get spiritual strength by doing so. They develop in spiritual strength. Just like the young men go to the gymnasium in the morning and they do their exercises. And after some time, their body becomes muscular, big muscles. So we see that people who regularly engage in the spiritual exercise of rising early and chanting the holy names in association of devotees, they get spiritual strength. Of course, one can do at home also, or in a hostel, or wherever one may be living. But if we can do in association of others who are serious about Nam Bhajan, then that will also help us in our spiritual progress. Srila Prabhupada, who is the great Acharya of the holy name in the modern age, he gave us a program to follow every morning, singing together the holy names, and then chanting the holy names on beads. This is a meditation on the holy names. Repeatedly chanting over and over again. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And we can personally experience that by chanting these holy names regularly, daily, especially in the morning, this gives us spiritual strength. Even though we are conditioned souls, many of us, we are struggling with the mind and the senses, chanting the holy names gives us spiritual strength and energy and keeps us fixed on the path of Krishna consciousness. So we should all try to chant the holy names attentively. This is very important. This seems to be one of the most difficult things, but as much as we try to do that much Krishna will reciprocate with us. Those who are regularly chanting the holy names on beads like this, they know that everyone knows we can all improve. We all have to try to become more attentive in our chanting. And although everyone has many things to do, we're very busy, but we have to take time out to chant Hare Krishna. In the modern age, everyone is very busy. In the name of progress and development of society, people are simply full of anxiety. And simply to get the basic necessities of life, which people previously got without much work, people have to work like asses or even harder than asses. And it's expected in modern society that everyone has to work very hard. And even they're not content with that, all the men should work. Now all the women also have to go to work. They're just like squeezing everyone. So it's difficult for people to get time. If people have any time, they usually waste their time watching something completely useless on television, or reading completely useless things in magazines or on the internet, watching completely useless movies which simply increase their material desires. So we recommend, don't waste your time, don't waste your life, spend time for chanting Hare Krishna. Our devotees are also very busy. Generally you think a sadhu is some lazy person with nothing to do. And there are plenty like that. I've seen in many ashrams, they get up, 6 o'clock, 6:30, and then spend an hour or so reading the newspaper, and like this, relaxed life, not much to do. Maybe a little arati for 20 minutes or something, and that's all. But our devotees are not like that. We're very busy because we have so much work to do to save people from their useless way of life. But those who are living in the ashram, we also have to take time out for sadhana, to chant the holy names nicely. A lot of the time we're running here and there, this place, that place. But that's also good for preaching. Yeah, that is required. You already said that. But we also have to practice our spiritual life. We just like people who are working hard in some job, they have to eat to get strength to do so. So people who are preaching Krishna consciousness, they need to get the spiritual food of chanting the holy name. So we should chant clearly, attentively. Of course, the mind has a tendency to wander off. We may be chanting, but the mind is somewhere else in the universe. But we have to bring the mind back. We're chanting to Krishna. Yato yato nischalati manas chanchalavasthiram tatastato nayamyaitad atmanyeva vasham niyet. Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says that wherever the mind wanders to, bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. So in the middle of our busy activities also we may try to rush to finish our rounds. But just like if you eat your food very quickly, then it won't digest properly. So you have to take a little time. Those who are initiated devotees, they have to chant at least 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day. That's minimum. We can chant more also. That requires a little time. I would say at least 90 minutes to do so. Minimum 90 minutes. So we shouldn't just, rush to finish it and then rush off. But we need to spend the time daily to chant the holy names with attention. It's chanting the holy names is the very basis of our spiritual life. So we request everyone to take that up very seriously. Of course, we also have to hear about Krishna. We should also study Srila Prabhupada's books. There are so many activities we have to perform in Krishna consciousness. But Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam kalo nastreva gatir anyata. The chanting of the holy names of Krishna is the basic spiritual process for the Kali Yuga. So if that is conducted properly, then our spiritual life will go very nicely. So chant carefully, take the time to do so. People take time for exercise, for so many things. Take the time for speaking to Krishna every day. We get spiritual strength by doing so. So that's what I wanted to say this evening. It's a very basic lesson. But after all, Krishna consciousness is very simple. There is much deep philosophy, no doubt, in Gita, in the Vedas, in Upanishads. But Krishna consciousness is basically very simple. That Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We are all His eternal servant. We simply have to serve Him. That's all. The desire for anything else but to serve Krishna is the cause of all our misfortune. So we should serve Krishna, and the best way to do that in Kali Yuga is by chanting His holy names. So this evening I've spoken about the practice of chanting the holy names of Krishna, and we request all of you to chant Hare Krishna daily in your lives as a regular daily practice, and to request others to do so also. All auspiciousness will come from this. Kali Yuga is very good. You know that? Kaling sabhajantyarya gunagya sarabhagana yatra sankirtananeva sarva swartho bilabhyate. Vyasadeva says that persons who really know what's going on in this world, they glorify Kali Yuga. Because in this age, by this very simple process of Krishna Sankirtana, everything is achieved. There is one narration that one time some rishis, they came to Badarik Ashram to approach Vyasadeva with 3 questions. What is the best varna? What is the best linga, means male or female? And which is the best yuga? So when they approached Vyasadeva at his ashram, he was bathing in the Alakananda river, which flows just in front of his ashram. You can go and see even today. So bathing means 3 times you have to go down in the water. So he came down one time, came up and said Shudra. Then he went down and one more time, came up and said Stri. He came down one more time, came up and said Kali. Just the opposite of what everyone might expect. So afterwards the rishis asked him to explain, and he said that, Vyasadeva explained that if a Shudra has a good master and simply serves him faithfully, then without himself having to go through so many religious rituals, he gets the same result. So Shudra is the best varna. Same thing, a woman, she doesn't have to become very learned in Shastra, perform so many rituals, or do anything except serve her husband, and she achieves all perfection, especially if he's a pure devotee of Krishna. And Kali Yuga is the best because Krite yadhyayato vishnam tretayo yajyato makhai dwapare paricharyayam kalo Nama Sankirtan. In the Satya Yuga, you have to do very austere meditation for many thousands of years. In Treta Yuga, you have to perform sacrifices. There are so many conditions, little conditions. even the whole big arrangement for a sacrifice, if someone in the course of it just chants one svara slightly wrongly, the whole thing is spoiled. In the Kali Yuga, no one can, we're chanting Hare Krishna, we can't even pronounce it properly, but it doesn't matter. In China, you see we have to chant Hare Krishna, but in Chinese language there's no R sound. So they chant Hare Krishna. And Krishna appreciates. In the Dwapara Yuga, the process is by the Yoga Dharma, is by deity worship. Again, with so many rituals to follow, a little mistake and then you commit Nama Aparadam. You have to bring so much paraphernalia. Just before Janmashtami, I was looking at one booklet called Sri Krishna Janmashtami Vidhi, the rules for celebrating Krishna Janmashtami according to all the systems of deity worship. For all the different kinds of abhishekams, you have to bring so many different ingredients. One of the ingredients was some special kind of rice that grows in 60 days only. I mean, you just can't imagine such things nowadays, even to get the ingredients to do it. But for chanting the holy names, easy. Kayate shuite jota tota namaloi desha kala niyam nahi sarva siddhi hoy. Even if you're eating, you can chant the holy name. You can't, if you're performing yagyas, you can't stop for a snack in the middle. Or, you're swaha and at the same time you're chewing some farsan or something like this. Kaite, shuite, even when you lie down, you can chant the holy names. If you're feeling tired in the middle of the yagya, you can't lie on your side and pour the ghee in the fire, swaha. You can't do that. In any condition, if one chants the holy names, one can achieve all perfection. So nice. It's such a nice process. Actually, in other ages also, people could chant the holy names. But they thought, why should I chant? I can do meditation. You see, that requires my great effort. But chanting the holy names, they thought, well, it's too easy. But in Kali Yuga, we're so fallen, we find it very difficult even to chant the holy names. In other ages, they thought it was too easy, and in this age, we think it's too difficult. Anyway, somehow or other, those who are fortunate, they're chanting Hare Krishna. So please do so, and turn off your cell phone, and Krishna will bless you. You make your cell phone to Krishna. Phone call to Krishna. What's the, how to dial? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. You see, if you want to get a direct phone connection to the Prime Minister of India, you can't get it. But Krishna is more merciful. He's much bigger, much more important than any Prime Minister. And you can directly contact him by chanting the holy names. See, Krishna is so merciful. So, any question, comment, or protest about this? Yes. What is your question, comment, or protest? Question. The question is, does this dharma not work for other yugas? Well, I just mentioned that you can chant at any age, but in other ages, people, they don't feel much inclined to do so. Anyway, you're here now, you're not in Satya Yuga, so chant now. Don't think I'll wait again till Satya Yuga. Now, get out of this material world now. Yeah, any other question, please? How to serve Guru, Krishna and Vaishnavas perfectly. And do what they want. It's not something you can just learn from a book. It depends on one's attitude. See, in the modern education, we think we can learn everything just by learning things from books. But Vaishnava education comes by associating with devotees. We think there's, just like, there's some formula for converting, I don't know, there are various processes for converting crude oil into various nylons, polymers, fuels, and so many things. So we think there's just some kind of simple formula that we can take, and then, but no, you have to give your heart, you have to give your soul. It's not just a matter of some formula. How can we serve perfectly when we give up all desires for sense gratification? Yeah, thanks. While you're preaching, you face some difficulties. How to face difficulties in preaching? Pray to Krishna and be prepared to face difficulties. Be prepared to face difficulties. Don't think it's going to be easy. People are attached to their way of thinking and doing things, and they don't want to be disturbed in that. Preaching means to directly or indirectly tell people that whatever they're doing, they should change it and center their whole life on Krishna. So people don't like that. So be prepared in preaching for some disturbances. One way to avoid disturbances is to preach in a way that people like. So that can be done to some extent, but ultimately you have to tell people to give up all the things that they're attached to, which are illusory attachments. In the beginning we say, well, whatever you're doing, just add Krishna. You don't have to change anything. But as people, as they start to take to Krishna consciousness, gradually we tell them, well, there are a few things you have to give up, like meat eating, gambling, intoxication, illicit sex, watching TV, going to movies, demigod worship, and ultimately any desire to be happy in this world. So cheating, it's a kind of transcendental cheating process. So expect that there'll be some disturbances.
He asked that in South India, some people are preaching the Hare Krishna Mahamudaya in a different way. First, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. So how you know to preach to that people?
If they're preaching to chant, that's good. Chanting will be most effective by getting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. So, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preached to chant Hare Krishna first, we do so. But if someone's preaching to chant Hare Rama first, well, we're not going to get in a big fight with them. Is it necessary to become a brahmachari for pure devotion? Well, you've heard of Draupadi, right? She was a pure devotee. She wasn't a brahmachari. She had 5 husbands. And all her husbands, they had more than one wife. They're all pure devotees of Krishna. So they weren't brahmacharis. Though in one sense, they were the best brahmacharis, because the essence of brahmacharya is to be a pure devotee of Krishna. But it's not necessary to be in the brahmachari ashram to be a pure devotee of Krishna. Although the brahmachari ashram is no doubt excellent for training in spiritual practices. Is walking up and down chanting japa better or sitting better? Turning off your cell phone is better. It's, we have to, it's like a mantra we have to say in every class again and again and again. Shastra recommends sitting. We've seen that our great recent acharyas, they would sometimes sit and sometimes walk when chanting. So the essence is on hearing the holy name and praying to the Supreme Lord. That is the essence, not the position. Want to finish that?
When you go outside for Janmashtami collection or other collection, people give money so much, they appreciate our actions, but they don't take up the process of chanting Hare Krishna or Sadhana. It's over for you.
Well, we can't force people to take up the practice of Krishna consciousness. Many merchants and others, they like to donate for festivals, but they don't themselves personally take up the process. So they're serving in one way, and everyone who, even if they themselves don't take up Krishna consciousness, everyone who attends the festival, whatever benefit they get from that is also shared by the merchants who donate for that. And even if they don't immediately take up all the practices, that doesn't mean that you have to give up on them. You can go and preach to them some more, and gradually they can take it up also, some of them at least. Okay, we'll finish that.